I e-read Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar as part of the Indie Fantasy Club Book Club. It's book one of a popular indie fantasy series, but as we know, popular doesn't always mean good. So, is Gunmetal Gods popular and good, or just plain old popular? I will say, it gets off to a rough start. No one writing advice. Gunmetal God centers on two viewpoint characters, mostly Keva and Micah. Keva is a retired soldier, a big name back in the day, apparently, but in retirement, he's decided to learn blacksmithing and get fat. Micah, on the other hand, is in his prime, just going around conquering things. Look, I wrote this script before I decided to start using a rating system, so I'm just going to slot the ratings in where I think they fit. I haven't restructured the review. I haven't rewritten it aside from adding the ratings with a brief explanation. So I'm just going to shoehorn the numbers in, whether they fit or not, like a wacky sidekick in an otherwise serious story. Straight up, the opening chapter is a chaotic mess. Why bring a fat retired soldier out of retirement only to unleash your impulsiveness on him? The king's all like, do this, do that, not that, this. Actually, no, do this. Maybe that. No, be here. No, go there, not there. In the opening chapters, I couldn't understand the relationship between Keva and the king. One minute they seem like old buddies from back in the day, the next they're talking like they only know each other by reputation. Which is it? Chapter 1 is a whirlwind of chaos, confusion, and contradiction, but it does get better. Sort of. Where Keva is a reluctant hero, well, not reluctant enough to let his sense of duty override his sense. Micah the metal, isn't reluctant at all. If anything, he's fully reluctant. Once we get into Micah's scenes, the plot starts to feel a little less chaotic and we get some genuine conflict. He has to make some tough decisions and he's facing resistance from multiple sources, his own internal resistance and doubts, the enemy, the church, and even his own men. 50,000 men in his army, and somehow, apparently, Micah has the ability to address them all at the same time simply by yelling really loud. Do you know what a crowd of 50,000 people looks like? That's like half a Taylor Swift concert. It's a lot of people, yeah? I guess the author forgot to mention Micah's powerful PA system, a minor oversight. While we're on the subject of Micah the Metal, this guy has been conquering rather hard with much success, so it seems like a savvy commander, yeah? But then when we see him in action, he impulsively decides that sending his entire fleet to certain defeat for no good reason is a sound strategy. His over-eagerness to commit this one nonsensical action leads to so much unnecessary conflict and hardship for the character. It seems like the author wanted the plot to go in a certain direction, regardless of how unnatural the character actions needed to be to make it happen. This happens quite a bit throughout the story. Look, a commander who takes big risks with almost zero chance of success wouldn't still be commanding an army of 50,000 men so far into his career. And I won't even get into how this fool keeps pretending how an obvious demon is his dead daughter. Ugh. I will say there is a nice contrast between Micah and Keva. In the beginning, Keva's quite passive, almost frustratingly so. I thought he's meant to be a tough war veteran. What's going on here? Whereas Micah's more active. Later, I did grow to appreciate Keva's character as his try that again. His initial passiveness leaves more room for growth, and his attitude does change as the story progresses. He starts to have real motivations. Finally, we learn Micah's motivations early, or at least his initial reasons for choosing a career in conquering. For that reason, he feels like a stronger character through much of the narrative, even if some of his actions don't make sense. Yes, so many actions don't make sense or seem forced to serve or fast track the plot. For example, at one point, an entire group of people dive into an unexplored underwater cave without, I don't know, maybe having the strongest swimmer scope it out first to make sure they can actually make it. If everyone just drowned then and there, it would have been fitting and funny. All right, I'll just stop with that example, but there's people not killing other people when they have the chance. to serve the plot. Or maybe the gods intervened. Now, that's a pet peeve of mine. That is becoming a big pet peeve of mine. Nonsensical actions and outcomes explained away with divine intervention. It's not explicitly stated that the gods influence specific situations in the story, but there are some groan worthy coincidences that can only be explained by divine meddling. Assuming we're not assuming the worst, lazy writing. All right, I should probably follow Micah's lead and calm down by nibbling a semi ripe fig. It's not a relaxation technique I was aware of, but it seems to work for him. While we're at it, I might drop my storytelling score here. I give Gunmetal Gods a 3.5 out of 5. Above satisfactory, good, not great, mainly because the plot's messy and a little nonsensical in places, and is often fueled by coincidences and dumb decisions. All right, now I'm full of fig. Let's dish out some praise. Messiness aside, there are plenty of twists and turns and interesting moments, setups and payoffs, and the story's well paced for the most part. It never feels like it's dragging, and as the story progresses, the personalities of the different characters do unfold, and it starts to feel like a full and solid cast. Characters are frequently faced with tough decisions and the odd impossible situation. It's not all action either. There's a bit of political intrigue, and the importance of being politically savvy and gaining the right allies becomes clearer as the story progresses. You can't just conquer a place with force. Turns out there's a whole other social and political side to conquering a large group of people. I do appreciate how the author acknowledges this. Okay, we need to have the talk. So, at a certain point in the story, it gets weird. An almost complete tone shift when one particular character, Kin, is in any scene. I'll just say, I didn't expect Gunmetal Gods to be a magical companion story. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but the character in question gives me serious Croc from Discount Dan vibes. He's both naive and wise at the same time. Naively wise. Or I'd say it's a good time to drop my character score. I'm giving Gunmetal Gods a 3 out of 5. So, I like Kin as a character, but he seems like he's been transplanted from a different story. He doesn't fit the tone, but he's not my main problem. My main issue with the characters is they often don't feel believable. It's becoming another pet peeve of mine when a character is a certain thing, like an accomplished conqueror on paper, but they don't act like it in practice. Look, it's been a while since I read the book, and I did read it without considering the rating criteria, but the character issues stuck with me more than anything else. So I think the ratings probably fair, satisfactory characters and characterization, not great, not bad, just fine. Overall, there is a solid and diverse cast of characters, and I could almost give it another half star for that, but so many of them just don't seem to act like what they're meant to be. Maybe I'm being too critical, but few things miff me more than potentially great characters having their potential squandered when their resume doesn't match their competence. If someone's an accomplished soldier or a great conqueror, don't just say it, show me why. Or just show me a series of character actions that totally contradict what we've been told. Apparently, that's an option. I mean, Keva, a renowned war hero, when his wife vanishes, what does he do? Mopes at home making horseshoes? Come on! What about the writing? Another tough one because I wasn't analysing the prose when I read the book. Yes, I will for future books, but it wasn't on my radar for this one. I know some people in the Indie Fantasy Club, Book Club mention that the voices of the two viewpoint characters are too similar. I listened to the audiobook, so I didn't notice that because the narrator literally uses different voices. Looking back, I think the prose is decent, does the job, tells the story. So I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5, which is to say it's good. I don't recall any major issues. Oh, aside from the questionable viewpoint choices towards the end of the story. All right, a word of warning. The author does choose to use the first person perspective, an odd choice for a multi viewpoint novel, but for the most part, it works. The only place it feels off is towards the end when we start jumping into some new viewpoints. I get why the author chose to do this. Our main viewpoint characters are out of action for a bit, but I can't help but wonder if that was the best choice. We literally get one chapter each from two additional viewpoint characters. Whenever I see this, and I've done it myself and I've stopped myself from doing it too, it's usually the author trying to solve a problem the easy way. We'll just jump into this guy for a chapter so I don't need to artfully weave important information into the main viewpoint characters' chapters. Maybe no one will notice. It's more of a storytelling issue than anything else, but this is where the critique fell in the original script, so I'm running with it. Look, maybe I shouldn't have done the ratings for this one. I am making an utter mess of it. I will say any inaccurate ratings will only be off by, I don't know, half a star either way. Future ratings will be more accurate. I swear by the Archangel. Oh, I haven't talked about the magic system. It's non existent for much of the story, but we do get some interesting glimpses into how it will develop throughout the series. It's especially interesting how the Magi harness their power, bit more there than the eye can see. Also, as the title suggests, there are guns. The text at the point where the revolver has just been invented, but apparently earplugs haven't been invented. In this world, instead of just plugging your ears when you don't want something to be loud, you cut off your ears or your horse's ears. Bit weird and unnecessary. The gods and the angels and the jinn are fairly mysterious for most of the story, which gives us plenty of page time to focus on our unbelievable, for the wrong reasons, cast of characters. There's also some nice world building around religion and culture. For me, the world building is a strong point of the story, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5. It feels deep without drowning you in information. I'm sure there's more to explore in the other books, but the level of depth, creativity, and mystery is damn near perfect in book one. A redeeming factor. Anyway, the burning question: does Gunmetal Gods live up to the hype? Messy start, some sloppy storytelling, and clunky ending aside, we didn't even discuss the ending, did we? Too many spoilers. Anyway, overall, it's a solid story with compelling characters. Yes, Keva does eventually become worthy of page time, and interesting world building, especially around religion. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of the magic system, including the gods and the angels and the jinn and whatever else decides to show up. In book one, large parts of the plot are unpredictable in a good way, and I didn't always know where it was going. So, for my overall enjoyment, I give Gunmetal Gods a 4 out of 5. Issues aside, I enjoyed the subtle magic system, the mysterious higher beings. I even enjoyed Kin's moments, even if they have no business being in this particular story. That leaves us with a final score, a gunmetal strong 3.7 out of 5. If 3 is satisfactory and 4's great, then what we can call 3.7 good, on the path to greatness. Yeah, the baffling characters and the messy plot brought down the overall rating and my enjoyment to a certain extent, but I do plan to continue the series. Yes, it has me hooked. If you want to take part in the Indie Fantasy Club Book Club and read and rant about the next questionable novel,
Join us on the Indie Fantasy Club Discord server.
could I have made that sound any more sinister? Probably not. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway and hate watch my content. That's always fun.